Golf's no different from hockey. Requires talent, self-discipline.
Golf requires goofy pants and a fat ass. You should talk to my neighbor, the accountant, probably a great golfer, huge ass.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers? By height.
It's a very, very special honor.
I'm Paula Creamer, and you're listening.
Well, we're waiting.
Hi, this is Martin Cove, a.k.a. John Kreese from Cobra Kai, and you're listening to
Quiet, Please.
Let the word go out from here across the land. Let Daddy Noonan approve.
Hi, boys. Nice day for golf, isn't it? Quiet, please. Oh, you got secrets, eh?
Hey, this is Shooter McGavin. You're listening to the...
Hey, you guys. Hey, we're trying to have a podcast over here.
Welcome to our show number 130.
Wow.
For the Quiet Please podcast. We have a fabulous foursome today, joined by our author extraordinaire, Brendan Elliott. Good to have you back.
Good evening.
Our Iron Man in Kentucky, who was a little under the weather this week, Mr. Bob Baldessari. Glad to have you with us tonight.
Did not want to miss it, and sometimes when you don't feel well, you play your best or have a good round, so we'll see.
There you go. And we have a guest host tonight, a dear friend of mine, Scott Peters, who is not comfortable enough to put his face on camera. So we'll just take his audio without the video. But welcome, Scott. We're certainly happy to have you on.
Well, great to be on here with you guys, and I guess I now consider myself Mr. 130.
You are Mr. 130. Mm-hmm.
Is that anything like Mr. Irrelevant, the last guy drafted, or did I take anything from that?
So Scott's background is he owned a chain of golf and ski retail stores in the New England market, and owned and operated with excellence for so many years. I think, did you get to 30?
35.
35. And then just recently sold to Worldwide Golf. So
Nice.
Scott and I have been really close friends for a long time, and he finally agreed to come on the show. So happy to have you.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I think Scott came on just to be incognito.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly. So obviously we're missing our quarterback again, Mr. Alan Depew, and our young blood pretty boy, Christian Nizamus, who had something lame to do tonight. I forget what it was. Oh, that's right. He was meeting with his the DJ for his wedding.
Yeah. She can handle it.
Pretty important.
Right?
Yeah, of course. So I think first things first, we'd like to just get the show started off with Boston Bob's brain teaser. So what do you got for us this week, Bob?
Okay, well, Scott, since you get the New England, angle, this sometimes this is wicked hard, but I know you work it smart. So I thought it would be topical we just finished up a fun, exciting golf event in Iowa. It is now known as the John Deere tournament. But what year did this event originate, and who was the first winner? And the first winner is a historical name or person in golf.
Okay, so everyone's going to chew on that for a while. We'll come back to it toward the end.
Is this the same event that's in Illinois? Is it in Illinois? I'm sorry. I thought that John Deere was in Illinois.
Silvis, Illinois, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the yeah. Oh, lost it.
Hey, we don't pay attention to borders on Quiet.
Now we have no borders.
Yeah. Yeah. But thanks for pointing that out, Scott.
Well, I know the Illinois answer, Iowa answer. I don't know the Illinois one.
Okay, good.
I'm kidding.
So we'll revisit this toward the end of the show and come back and see if we can answer Bob's brain teaser. And any of our listeners out there, feel free to comment. Feel free to try to answer the question. And we're always looking forward to the interaction with our listeners. So I think first things first, I think we got to throw a little bone out there to Chris Gotterup, who just knocked off his 5th PGA Tour victory. Brendan, what do you think of that?
More impressive than that is 4th in the last 12 months and 3rd of this season. And he's heading over the pond to defend his Genesis Scottish Open Championship. So, Andy, I know we all pick on you about this when we were talking Ryder Cup, and
rightfully so.
And Chris Gotterup, man, I'm telling you, the kid just seems, he reminds me a little bit of Brooks, where he has that kind of laid back, don't care kind of attitude, and the way he hits those low flighted tee balls and just everything about him is appealing, at least in my opinion. I think he's going to defend this week, and then he becomes, like, right now he's 7th in the world. So if he defends this week with that field, now you're talking like realistically Scotty, Rory, and Gotterup, which is something that Andy couldn't have foreseen back in the fall.
Okay, I'd give him a look at a captain's pick for my Ryder Cup team. Scott, what are your thoughts? Gotterup, did you see it in him?
No, and I think I'd be surprised if anyone actually did, to be honest with you. I mean, it wasn't what he said. One of the things I thought was pretty neat was, he feels a connection to the John Deere because it was his first sponsors exemption event, and I love people who believe strongly in loyalty and want to support people who supported them when they needed help, and so that certainly jumps to mind as something that is incredibly admirable. And I love his old school game, and what I mean by that is, he plays and swings like he's never seen a teacher. You know what I mean? That old sort of caddy yard golf swing, which is really cool because there's just very little of that anymore. And so he sort of looks like this self-made guy. And inevitably, I think, under the gun, those self-made guys really play well, right? Because they just play how they play, and they're not trying to play a golf swing. They're just playing golf.
Yeah.
And he's got the cool dude, Velcro's not, with his golf glove. He's got the glove out. He's got a little bit of the Koepka swagger, I think, maybe. I don't know. He's hard not to like, and I think he's a breath of fresh air.
Bobby.
Well, Gotterup was my guy last year. We really,
right.
I was on the Gotterup train, maybe the first one in the first cabin. So, yeah, I agree with Scott. So many of what you just said, Scott. I really love the guy. Plays his game. Does not. Jimmy Ballard must be going, oh my God, I can't watch this guy, because Ballard wouldn't like that move. But you're exactly right. It works for him. And I do agree. If you look back in the tour, we're really good players anywhere. And we can name some on the North Shore of New England that have quirkiness, but they repeat the quirkiness every time. Great confidence and keep the ball in play. I mean, I like Gotterup a lot. I think, you never know if he's going to defend, but I think he's top 3 easy. Maybe he plays well and wins the Open. I don't know. He's on a heater. I know. I read that he was getting along with Keegan Bradley, but being the little bit of a snub, that has motivated him big time. So that's clear. And I did, before we start, I said, Scott, nobody on the TV telecast mentioned about the Golf Club Open. So that's just a fun thing. Like, you play for millions of dollars, and it just looks like a Sunday stroll in the park for him.
Yeah, I think for me, like I've watched a lot of his video on social media lately, and that golf swing is just, there's a lot going on there. Like, he aims way left.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it super steep coming down, and his hands move so crazy as they start to release the club. It's really phenomenal. But wow, he makes it work. And I won't be the first to say I was wrong, because my compatriots here told me I'm wrong. But I've definitely been. I was not the first person on that train like Bobby was. I was a little later to get on that train. But
can we talk about how he won, though?
Yeah.
I mean, 64 in the final round. How I don't even remember how many shots was he out from. Well, it was Glover who was leading going into Sunday, or
Four, at least four, maybe five, something like that.
That's when you get in a spot like that and you feel like your game's good, you can kind of freewheel it on a Sunday. But he seems to freewheel it all the time. But to close with a number like that and win, and you gotta feel bad for the little double bogey that happened on the last hole.
Can we talk about that shot actually?
Yeah, let's talk
I'm amazed after listening to him, and I thought Ben Cole's played great. I thought he said a lot of great things. I mean, there's a lot of good that happened, and yet when I heard him interviewed on that shot, I'm like, no, you don't hit the little shot when you're nervous, right? And so he said that he was between 8 and 9. He wasn't sure he could get 9 there, and 8 could hit over, so he wanted to hit a little 8 instead of the hard 9. I'm thinking, boy, under the gun, that 3/4 shot, if you've never been there, I mean, that's exactly what happens is you hit it left into the water. And so I just thought, boy, what a great example of somebody who is new to that last group. I mean, I thought I read it was his 3rd time ever in the last group, but new to that kind of pressure and pairing. And I just think that, I don't know, I'd be curious what you guys think, but I think that hard shot under pressure, the hard swing, I mean, that full swing that is really just the way to go. And anytime you see somebody trying to hit 3/4 shots when they're nervous and under the gun, rarely do they pull that off. And so I was really surprised at that decision.
I agree with that too. I can't remember too many times in the last 15 years of somebody being in that situation and hitting that type of shot. You just never see that. So it was definitely a bit shocking.
I totally agree. It came out of my mouth as soon as he was getting ready to hit, and looked like he did that little decel. And I thought the same thing. The way the tour is now, power, just, pedal to the metal type of thing. I do think 30, 40 years ago, the tour player at the time, they swing different. They're swingers. And I think those players back then played a lot more half-cut, controlled, knockdown stuff. You just don't see it on the tour these days. Yeah, I was the same way, Scott. I was going, oh, God, no. At that point, the way the tour is, just blast away.
And that's one of the differences you see in coaching, like Bobby and I coaching with some of the kids we play with. We tell them that if they're competitive players, right, to hit something that you can swing at. But for the non-competitive recreational players, we go in the opposite direction. At least I would, and tell them, club up, swing within yourself. But definitely a situation like that was a mistake that he has probably relived many, many times over the last couple of days. And I feel bad for him. I think the kid's going to be a good player. Just feel bad for him.
Yeah, totally.
Of course, manager-wise, I would always say, tough to make 3 from the bottom of the pond.
Right.
Like you might chip it in. You never know. But yeah, that was. I mean, he did well. I think he showed some good guts there come down the end. I did want to mention I was personally rooting for Lucas Glover. He's won there before, and I don't know. It was just see the old guy in there, and I just like the way he plays. Just looks, boom, gets up, doesn't wear a glove. I don't know. I've been a Lucas Glover fan for many years, so I was kind of found myself rooting for him. But I don't know. Gotterup, the guy's got some game.
All the non-Velcro guys were at the top of the leaderboard.
No Aaron Rise.
Yeah.
Or Tommy Gainey's.
So
I was thrilled to see Max Homa play well and get
That's true.
Yeah.
I was really, he's been, I hate to equate it directly to when you change equipment, but it certainly is interesting that when he changed his equipment, he's been on a pretty tough spell, but for him to finish solo second was pretty important.
And there's been a few times over the last couple years that he's like breaking out of it. He'll have a good week or two, but then he goes right back to where he was. So I hope this isn't one of those just sneak peeks of a good week and goes back to struggling, because he's a really good player, and hopefully he's on his way back to his regular form. But
Well, he's got a chance to carry the momentum, because he's going to be up in Bobby's neck of the woods this week with the opposite field event in Kentucky. So he could hopefully carry that into a little bit. I don't like to say weaker field. We've had that discussion before. There's no such thing on the PGA Tour, but I think there's an opportunity this week for him.
Yeah, as we move into this coming week, we're at what we call the British swing of the PGA Tour. Scott, is it me, or is the Scottish Open just recently taken on a greater and greater importance in the schedule?
Well, I think, first of all, the PGA Tour gave it some of that, right? It gave it some juice, and so obviously that's significant. And I think the fact that they have it in the same place, I think probably helps a little bit, although I'm disappointed it's not at a old traditional links course. It's at, I'd call it Renaissance, but apparently they call it Renaissance or whatever. But so it's kind of, to me, a little disappointing it's there, but I think the PGA Tour, by sanctioning it, gave it some juice, and they've had a really good field for a while now, and I think it makes great sense for the players to go play a week before in some degree of links golf, and I think it fits the schedule. So I think it's great. I think it's a great event. I only see the Scottish Open getting better, not worse, in the future, and getting more important, not less. And I guess selfishly, I'd love to see it moved around a little bit. I mean, I remember I think it was at Gullen just recently before the Renaissance, and I think Ricky won there or something. Anyway, I just think that there are so many great places it can go. But as we all know, the big dollars pay, and so they built a course, and I think they now have an agreement to keep it there for a bit. But I think the Scottish Open is absolutely more important and will be even more so going forward.
Yeah, I think you brought up a couple really key points there. The American guys who are making the trip, and even the European guys who live in America are making this trip over. They don't want to be making a flight on Saturday or Sunday and playing on Thursday. They want to be there for a little while, acclimate. I think the opportunity to play in a different temperature, the opportunity to play in some wind, I think all those things come into play, and it makes it really one of those events that is more interesting to watch than some of the other Iowa events.
And to Scott's point, having it at the Renaissance Club, it's a great track, but you look at the field they have now, which has been phenomenal fields over the last couple of years, and you look at the stories that have come out of Rory a couple of years ago, Bobby Mack, and then last year with Gotterup. But if they did move it around and had it at some of the traditional Open Championship venues, man, you'd get a stack. What's already a stacked field everybody would be there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think the Boston in me after the World Cup with the Tartan Army. I'm sorry, the Tartan Army back home in Boston. I'm rooting for the Scottish Open. I do hope it keeps elevating. I think they're doing a good job making it a stronger field, as good of an event as it could be. I think it was an interesting point, BE, because I think it would be neat if they had a little rotation going on, maybe a mini rota like the championship does. That'd be kind of nice. And it's funny maybe it's just me. It was always, maybe growing up in New England too. For me, if you're in the heat and you're playing in the heat and playing the heat and then it turns cold, to me it was always a little bit tougher to play that way than if I'm chilly, and then it's so nice and warm. That was an easier transition. So I do think it makes sense for a lot of these guys to go over early, get acclimated to the wind, the conditions, how you're going to play shots. I love the whole thing about the knockdown. I love telling people the ground is your friend, use the ground. So I'm excited about this event.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool is the rota for Open Championship is just always awesome. And for me, I was on a trip over there like 3 years ago now. We got a chance to play Birkdale. So having the Open back at Birkdale, I think is a great venue. I'm really looking forward to it. Scott, what are your thoughts on Birkdale?
Yeah, actually, I think, as you recall, I played it last year for the first time. Had a great day of 36 holes there and had a blast. In fact, I think I shared a video of my shot on 18. Remember we laughed about that? I sent you mine, and you were about the same place or something. Anyway,
I sent you mine.
Yeah. Yeah, my first thought is it's funny. I love the golf course, and it's the most non-historic Scottish clubhouse that you would ever imagine.
Crazy.
So this white dinosaur stuck
in an Art Deco clubhouse.
Right, yeah. Very strange.
Yeah.
But a great golf course, and was Jordan Spieth the last winner there? I believe,
yes.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember playing. I think it was the 13th hole. Thinking,
we hit it on the driving range.
How the hell did I'm walking there looking at this, because the mounds are quite large, right? I mean, it's like, and he was on the other side of these anyway.
They're quite large and quite far away.
Yeah.
on the horizontal, not on the vertical.
But I think Birkdale is a great British Open rotation golf course. Perfect fit.
B, what are your thoughts?
When you look at some of the past winners there, Scott just touched on Spieth, and that was a phenomenal. It was Cooch, right? Him and Cooch were going head to head.
I think he's still sitting in the 13th fairway waiting for Jordan to finish the hole.
But you go back over the years, and I think Baker Finch won there, and Watson, and it's just one of those. I think they've played maybe a dozen times there. Maybe this year's the 12th time. I'm not as lucky enough as you guys that have been over the pond and played over there, but it's just like what you want to see from a Open Championship venue. And it's got all the feels of a true test, which that tournament, depending on the weather, if the weather's great, we've seen people just obliterate, link style courses. But if the weather's tricky, it's just so fun to watch.
Well, we do know the weather's been very hot over there, right? So I assume it's going to be brown, firm, and fast, which is awesome, right? I mean, that's ultimately what you want to see is brown, firm, and fast there.
Yep.
And it's such a cool area, by the way. So Southport, England is near Liverpool, about an hour from Manchester. You fly into Manchester Airport. But you have Birkdale, you have Lytham and St. Anne's, which may have an opportunity to get back in the rotation here soon. You have Southport and Ainsdale, another great course. You have Formby, you have Hillside, you have West Lancashire. I mean, like the number of golf courses in that area. For those people looking to travel, you could spend a week there and just eat up all the golf you want, and it's some of the best golf courses that you'll ever see.
Can I ask you guys, Bobby, have you played over the pond?
I have.
So being someone that hasn't, isn't all golf in a sense over there pretty damn good golf? Even the little podunk courses, mom and pop.
I mean, I got to say, Brennan, that isn't the obvious question. The obvious question is, why haven't you? I mean, it is my favorite place in the world to play golf. So
we get the second kid off to college and out of college, then we'll go.
There you go.
Then we'll do a Quiet Please podcast from over there.
Bob, have you been to that area, the Southport area?
I don't think I've been there. My trip was really more Scotland based.
Yeah.
Like we played, the usual ones were the Pressworks and Troons and Carnousties and all that stuff. But yeah, everybody's talked about even the small ones you never hear about. They're fantastic. And it's sort of like, I was going to almost make an analogy a little bit to what we're doing with Kentucky Golf Trail here. When you get into the culture, and it is about the golf, but it's everything about the off the golf, the history, the food and beverage, meeting the people, driving around, having a driver. I mean, it's just that the whole immersion into it is so great. And people think you just go there, play golf, and sit around. Like, everything about it is great. The first scotch I ever had in my life was at Dunvegan's after we played the Oak Course.
Yeah.
Like, great memories.
Andy, what town is that? Andy, come on, don't let me down. What town is the Dunvegan in?
Oh, it's in the old grade 2.
There you go.
Translation.
You almost got that one by me.
It's like his favorite thing. I love having him say it, so I had to set him up.
He said it perfect.
So Scott, talking about that, I mean, you just got back, I don't know, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Tell us about Durness.
So I spent, my wife and I rented a house in Dornick, which is my favorite town. It's just magical up there, right? And to Bob's point, yeah, the golf courses are great, but the culture, the fabric of the communities, every town has a couple of pubs, a church, and a golf course. And the golf course, it's easy to know the name of the golf course because if you're in Brora, the course is called Brora. And if you're in Dornick, the course is called Dornick. And if you're in Golspie, that's right, it's called Golspie. And so 2 hours. So Dornick is 4-hour drive from Edinburgh. So it's way up in the Highlands. And then we decided to head to this really cool 9-hole course in Durness called, that's right, Durness. But it's like the most majestic piece of ground for a golf course in the furthest northern on the mainland. You're not in the Orkney Islands, so you're still in the mainland. But it's about 25 years old that these 3 guys just decided to build 9 holes, and it's majestic. And so what's funny about that is I remember, because they have webcams now at all these courses. So there's Andy sitting in the comfies of home in Houston, as I say, hop on the webcam, and my wife and I and our 2 sons and their gals are waving to him from the furthest most remote part of Scotland at Durness, in this magical 9-hole golf course. That to get there, it's about 70 miles, but 2/3 of the drive is 1-lane roads, not one lane both ways, 1 lane period. And so you're constantly, as a car coming, you're always sort of these little pull-ins. And anyway, it's high maintenance to get there, but it's unbelievably cool and majestic is the only word that jumps to mind. It's very, very unique.
And it is surreal to see on the webcam your friend and his family again at that most northern point on mainland Scotland playing golf. I mean, it's just really cool and really.
And we got it on a perfect day, and it was a typical Scottish day where 55, absolutely howling wind. We never got wet, but there were showers sort of around us. You can see them off in the distance, and if the wind blows the right way or the wrong way, it's going to be on top of you. Anyway, it was a very cool Scottish day, so pretty neat stuff up there.
That is so cool. Well, I think we should probably do our little live report while we still can.
That's right.
There's
a faint heartbeat.
Not many beats left in that heart, but
don't ask Sergio. Sergio thinks they're good through 27.
I heard today that Sergio's going to be playing the DP World Tour in 27.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Out of his mouth. So, it is interesting. Before I get on to the informational part of this, I know a lot of guys probably can't say what they want to say because it may invalidate a contract or a payment or something that they've been given to this point. So, you wonder, guys like Sergio, I don't really give 2 shits about, but like the John Rahms of the world, that he's biting his lip and biding his time too. But so 2 weeks ago, Liv canceled its event in New Orleans. Jeff Landry, the governor of the state of Louisiana, basically is the one who pulled the plug on the event, because Liv had signed a deal with the state of Louisiana, and the state of Louisiana ponied up committed to pony up for 3 years a bunch of money supporting the event. And they came to Jeff Landry and told him that this is all bets are off after this year. We're doing the event this year, but we don't know going forward. So Landry just said, forget it, we're not doing it this year, and pulled the plug. So you wonder going forward how many of those sort of deals are kind of in the mix with Liv, where they engaged a town or a state or whatever, to participate financially, and as this thing falls apart, there's probably a lot of piggy banks that are going to be stressed out from this whole thing.
I actually saw the John Rahm interview at the press conference for the Scottish Open, and the two observations relative to that were: A, he looks so pained in these conferences because he can't say anything, and this was always a great interview. Very always spoke with great candor, always had good opinions, and backed them up with good sort of explanations. And he literally, it's like a tiger who's gotten all his teeth taken out, and he can't say anything. It's just, so that was interesting because they were asking him a lot. And one of the questions was that they were asking him if Scott O'Neill has approached him about quote unquote, investing into the future of Liv, which basically that means give some of your money back. Right. And what's Rahm going to say? He said he's not been approached, but now you're going to ask the guy who doesn't want to be in this tour if he wants to give some of his money back. I mean, I just think it's, they're dead men walking relative to the tour. And it's tough to see someone like John Rahm, who, he made his bed, right? I mean, no poor John Rahm from that standpoint. He made his bed, but it's hard not to look at him and see regret, right, with his decision.
Yeah, I think him especially. I think at the time he thought he was signing, one day, and in 3 months he thought there was going to be a deal with the PGA Tour and Liv. So he thought he was going to be making the smart move, but he wasn't.
To Scott's point, I was watching at the U.S. Senior Open Poulter, and not only did he play pretty well, but he seemed very happy to be around those guys again. And you wonder, to Scott's point, they're tied into contracts and stuff and bite their tongue, as you said, Andy. But I think when this is all said and done, that whatever pathway some of these guys have back, it's just going to be, we've said this for a while, but it was so apparent that Ian Poulter really enjoyed his week last week.
Yeah, and that's a great segue too, because I think we need to discuss shortly here or briefly before we get on to the rest of the show. But can we talk about Paddy Harrington and what a dominating senior tour golfer he is, or Champions Tour, excuse me. So Bobby, what are your thoughts on what Harrington's doing?
Here's the thing. I couldn't resist. Who does a great one of those is Kelly Elvin, who I used to work with at the PGA of America, the communications director. He was awesome about that. First I'm going to tell you that I think Paddy Harrington has the best attitude, the best mental outlook of any tour player, and I don't know how long. If you watch his interviews, if you watch some of his YouTube stuff, if you watch some of the reels, right, Brennan? Like just how he talks about youth golf, his kids in golf, how he talks about how grateful he is just to be out there. He goes, the most recent one was, he goes, we show up 30 weeks a year. We go to the nicest clubs that are preparing for a year. So we get the absolute best conditions, the absolute best everything, the best food. They're falling all over themselves to help us. And we show up. He goes, how could you not be grateful and want to go and play? Because some players are like, I don't want to play a lot. So he's playing a lot. I think, I'm not going to say like he thinks of mortality or anything crazy, but I think he knows, like Steve Turker just the other day was, hey, I've got 5 good years left. I think when you get to that age, I know for me even, it's like, hey, how many good years you have left to where you want to play at a certain level. So, but he's really exceptional. He's picked up speed. There was a point in time he won a couple of Opens, and then he won the PGA, and he's a great player. And then there was a little bit of period maybe he was struggling, but he found himself and worked with a swing speed coach, and he's hitting the ball out there. He just loves to play. I think he thrives on it, and I think he's going to win a couple more of these things. I wouldn't put him past him to contend highly in some of the majors coming up.
There's a real rivalry, AB rivalry going on there on the Champions Tour. Brendan, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think the Champions Tours needed something like this for a while, because you get guys that are dominant like longer, but having Sink and Harrington just dominating like they have the last couple years, it's pretty fun to see, and I think it's gonna drag some more viewership. They seem to struggle. You watch the crowds in terms of crowd size. It's like the LPGA Tour. It's those are the guys we grew up watching, So Harrington and Sink is going to be a rivalry. I think that's going to continue for quite some time. And then, they're both super healthy. To your point, Bobby, and I don't know how old. Harrington's 3 years into the Champions Tour, so
I think he's 53.
And Sink's maybe a little. They're probably close.
They're the same, I think.
You can't. They got 10 years. They got 10 good years in them at least, because you look at Longer as kind of the poster boy for longevity, but these two guys could put up numbers like he did.
And I think the thing that's most amazing to me is both of those guys. Harrington's pushing 180 ball speed.
It's crazy.
Stuart Sink is into the 70s, I think. Scott, what do you think? How much of a advantage is that for those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a huge advantage, and it's interesting that at age 50, let's say they're both 53, they're both probably hitting it farther than they ever have in their whole career, which is pretty amazing in and of itself. Look, and I think they're in the Champions Tour sweet spot. If they're not winning now, then when, right? I mean, this is when they should be winning, because that 50 to 55 window is when generally these guys have their greatest opportunity. And I'm not suggesting that they turn 55, it's over, but I don't necessarily agree with Brendan that 10 more years, that seems like it's over, Andy. Come on. But, anecdotally, I mean, if Zach Johnson chose to play at John Deere, I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me if Zach Johnson would have been every bit in contention there as well. And so, they're in the sweet spot. It makes sense that they're going to do well. And I think they've got a good 3 to 5 year run for sure. But they're a little bit of the soup du jour to me, meaning this is their time. It makes sense that they're going to win now. And I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm sure there's a 48 or 49-year-old knocking on the door who's going to come in and have some success as well. And so
they keep coming.
Right. And so they're making hay when the sun's shining right now, and they're both playing at a level that you could argue maybe as good as they've ever played at. But in fairness, I mean, it's not a terribly deep field, right? I mean, how many guys can really compete at that level? There just aren't that many. And so, I think this is their time to shine.
Yeah, for sure. So this brings us to our Don't Be That Guy segment. This week, our Don't Be That Guy really revolves around cheating. We've all had our brushes with cheating over the years, I'm sure. I have is recently as last fall. I was just doing some research today that the three major cheating scandals in the history of professional men's golf involved three pretty accomplished players. So Gary Player, if you all remember,
Skins game.
In the Skins game, Tom Watson saw him plucking out some weeds behind his ball. There was an issue at Lytham in the Open Championship with Gary Player. So, it's kind of a stain on the legacy, if you will. Vijay Singh, who had an unbelievable career on the PGA Tour. When Tiger was winning, Vijay was winning 30-some tournaments. But Vijay in the 1985 Indonesian Open changed his card to make a cut. I mean, that's pretty blatant. That's pretty bad. And Patrick Reed, I was reading up on Reed, but 2016 Barclays, he got caught pressuring the ground behind his ball to approve his lie. 2019 Hero is the one where he was in the waist area and he's raking out sand with the back of his wedge. And then the 2021 Farmers, where his ball bounced in the rough. Everybody saw it on camera, and then he basically was trying to tell the fact that it was plugged. So at the end of the day, where there's smoke, there's fire.
So only 3 Patrick Reed incidents.
Yeah, there's only. Well, we're a limited time show, so. But people, it's a personal makeup thing. But yeah, don't be that guy.
Well, Mark McCumber, I remember got it right, wasn't it? The great and my memory is, for the most part, well, I think he still does like XM radio these days or whatever. The reality is, I don't think he was ever really seen again in a pro golf tournament.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how, Patrick Reed has got at least 3 strikes against him, and it's water off a duck's back with him. And some people, it's like it tars them, it scars them forever.
It's a conscience thing, right?
Sure.
So, but that being said, Mr. Peters, it's time for the Quiet Please hot seat. And strap yourself in, because you're on the throne here. So quick 9 questions. Just rip off your answers. You don't have to think hard, just whatever comes to mind. So what's your best 18-hole score, Scott?
So I have been, my best 18-hole score was 7 under par.
Wow.
I've had a couple of 63s, but they were par 69. So
I was just going to say Hanover Country Club.
Yeah, so those were the 63s. So and then I was fortunate enough to shoot 7 under at Queechee one time. So yeah, those were highlights. Needless to say,
that's a great spot, Queechee.
What's that, Bob?
Oh, I love Queechee. Love that place.
Scott and I will be teaming up in the Tommy Keene 50th version of the Tommy Keene Invitation.
Running of the Tommy Keene this September that we have been fortunate enough to play in and have some success in.
Nice.
Right. So Scott, what's the favorite golf course you ever played?
Well, I'm crazed about Royal Dornoch, so I would probably go with Royal Dornoch. And I would probably say, gosh, in the States, it's a tough one. I'd probably go with Cypress Point in the States.
I was just going to say, you're kind of a privileged person.
Okay, I'm only answering questions that you're asking me, and now you're
right. And this is the one that's super interesting. For the guy who has everything, what one course is on your bucket list that you haven't played?
So the one in Scotland I'm dying to play that I haven't is Turnberry, because I've played almost everything in Scotland.
I've been there.
Yeah, there you go. And another one I know you've played that I haven't in the States is Chicago Golf Club. Yeah. Those are the 2 that jump to mind that I haven't done.
Yep, for sure. Who's your favorite golfer of all time?
I'm a Jack guy. Always have been. Whether it's Jack versus Arnie or Jack versus Tiger. And I get a lot of debates because I play with a lot of guys who are Although I joke now, a lot of people are younger than I am, but I play with a lot of guys who are like at 40, 45, and they're all huge Tiger guys. And so we always get in those debates, but I was always a Jack guy. Then I was probably a Freddie guy. And then I'm probably a Jordan Spieth guy, although he drives me crazy listening to him talk constantly to Michael Greller, but he's high entertainment. So those are the ones that jump to mind.
All right. What's the most cringeworthy look on the golf course? I know that giggle.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different directions. I don't know how to answer that. Give me some cringeworthy. Does that mean
like a loudmouth shirt or
oh gosh,
like a white belt? Like
I'm gonna be old man, get off my lawn. I've never been a big fan of the hat backwards thing.
There you go.
So I'm not a big fan of that. And one of my other pet peeves is I hate these poker chip ball marks. I don't understand the whole poker chip thing because conceptually you're marking your ball with something that's going to not be in the way. Well, the poker chip, I'm like, why don't you just leave your ball? If you're going to put a big poker chip there, what's the difference? So anyway, that's
just for the record, let this mark the first time on the hot seat that we've had to help somebody answer a question. So,
oh, jeez.
So, what's your favorite?
This is my friend Andy. Have you noticed?
Yeah. What's your favorite halfway house indulgence?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. And I had two good friends that Andy, Brett Wilson and Craig Steckwich.
Okay.
And we were making the turn at Dornick. They now have a new halfway house. And I was going to get a beer, but we're walking and carrying a beer. They'd only get them in a cup. And I'm like, you know what? They've got this cute little bottle of Merlot that I can have a cap on it. So I ordered a Merlot and a Snickers bar.
in Brett
which I'm not sure anyone before or since, but it's now my tradition. And sure enough, I had Brett and Steck back again this year to Scotland and Dornick, and of course I had to get, just for tradition, a Merlot and a Snickers bar. But that's the only place in the world that I've ever had a Merlot and a Snickers bar before.
It's going to start a
Not drinking fucking Merlot.
Oh, my son Tom loves that. What's the movie? Is that Sideways?
Sideways, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's your favorite post-round beverage?
I've always been an IPA guy after a round of golf. I don't really like drinking when I play, other than the obvious Merlot and Snickers bar. But I mean, to me, having an IPA after a round of golf, boom.
All right, gamble on the course or play for fun?
Well, I'm going to say gamble, but we don't necessarily play for money, because I've always sort of felt like, I'm happy to play for money. But to me, winning and losing was all about pride, and I didn't need any money to play harder or more. So I do like gambling, but I don't necessarily play for a lot of money. Fair. Pride is always enough.
All right. Now, quickly describe the best shot you've ever hit. Time, place, and circumstance.
It's funny. I think you and I talked about this.
We did.
And it's
because you were with me for mine.
Yeah, and so it's sort of a bittersweet day, right? Because my dear friend Jeff Julian passed away that day. If you guys remember who Jeff was with ALS, and he was on tour. And anyway, I happened to be playing in the New Hampshire State Am. I won my morning match, which is the second round. I now got a third round match in the afternoon. And at lunch, I got a call, ironically, from Rich Lerner asking me to talk about Jeff's passing. And so I was very emotional. And I'm going out and I'm playing the kid named Craig Sear, who was medalist qualifying. And I'm a bit of an emotional mess, and I'm, not a real great chance of winning. But anyway, the God of Jeff Julian was with me. And I remember vividly in the 8th hole, and it's a match play thing, right? And so I hit my drive left. I now have this option of chipping out or hitting it up through the goalposts of these trees with that. I would never, ever try and even attempt the shot in stroke play. Craig was already on the green. I'm like, what the heck? And I remember hitting this 8-iron about 170 yards up and through this little, I had to hit it high and through these little goalposts. And I hit it at 8 feet and made birdie. And I were walking off, and Craig looks at me and goes, that may have been the best shot I've ever seen. And I just remember that vividly. And again, I would have never tried that shot if it wasn't match play. But because of the circumstances, it allowed me to give it a go. And I was just fortunate to pull it off. So
it's funny. It's funny how everybody has one of those, you know, and that's why it's such a great question. Okay. Final question. What do you cherish most about the game?
Boy, you know, as someone who has made his life in golf and a passion about playing golf, there's so many ways I could answer that. But I mean, I love the history and I love the tradition. But probably more than anything, I love the camaraderie of what the game brings. That, you know, I played, my dad was an athletic director. And so I played all the sports growing up. And, you know, you reach that age after, you know, whatever, it's 20 or 25 when you can no longer play all those other sports. And what golf gives you is that still that opportunity to compete, it's the opportunity to still sort of have this brotherhood and this camaraderie that you have with your buddies. And so within the history and tradition of what the game brings, the camaraderie of also what it offers is really a very cool part of what this, and it's, you know, you get it for a lifetime. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Scott, thank you. You survived the Quiet Please. Wipe your brow. Wipe your brow.
Do you want to tell them, you know, you mentioned the Dunvegan at the old Grey Tune-On. Do you want to tell them about the one-arm push-ups or not at the Dunvegan?
Yeah, let's keep that between us. We are at the final thoughts, the 18th tee. Bobby, why don't you go first?
Well, I'll use my brain teaser for
this. We need to get back to the brain teaser first.
Well, I can
second string quarterback.
Yeah, I can combine them. But so we were talking about this week's John Deere Classic tournament. And sometimes tournaments change locations, they change names, they evolve. But what year basically did this entity start, and who was the first winner? The first winner is an iconic name and person in the game of golf.
So my only memory wasn't it the Quad Cities? Is that what it originally was? Is that it was right before it's John Deere? Wasn't it the Quad Cities?
It started as a Quad Cities Open Invitational for 1 year, and then for 3 years it was a Quad Cities Open. Then it was the Ed McMahon JC's Quad Cities Open.
His name Morris Hatolsky.
I love that name. He didn't win.
I do remember that. I'm pretty sure that Roger Maltby's 2 wins in his career, or maybe had more than 2, but didn't he win twice the same year with the Memorial and Quad Cities in that 1 year? And so I know it was played in the 70s, but I don't know much more than that.
Pretty close circuit.
Tom Watson is my guess.
Wow.
Jack's my guess.
Okay. Well, so it started in 1971.
Okay.
The inaugural winner, and he won the next year, was Dean Beeman, who I worked with.
Wow.
Yeah, Beeman won. But
was he a professional? I mean that sincerely. Did he actually? Because I didn't know he was a. I knew he played at high amateur level. I didn't realize he was also a professional.
Yeah, he was on the tour. I think he might have had 4 wins total.
Really?
But 91, Dean won by 2 shots over Dow Finsterwald.
Wow.
I love it. Then he won in 72 by 1 stroke over a young Tom Watson.
Wow.
How cool is that? And then everybody from Boston was happy the next year because Sam Adams won. Yeah. He won by 3 shots.
So it's the summer ale. It must have been the summer ale.
Yeah, had to be.
Dean Beeman was a guest on the show.
Yeah.
You know who Dean Beeman loves talking about?
Dean Beeman.
Dean Beeman.
But if you go back and look at this event, people think it's sort of like, it's this Quad Cities thing and whatever, Iowa, Illinois. But it when you look at it, the history is very, very, very strong. Who's won? who's played there. First time she got a sponsor invite, or one of the first times, Michelle Wee in 2005. Sam Snead became the first golfer in PGA Tour history to shoot his age. I mean, there's some really, really cool stuff here. So good step back there. And then I guess
final thoughts, Robert.
Yeah, rolling right into that. Looking forward. Well, my final thought, because we talked about this a lot. So Dean Beeman wins in 71. The total purse is $25,000. Dean himself won $5,000. The 79th player on Sunday, Ryan Brem, he won $16,000. And Gotterup won over $1.5 million. So the game has changed. It's evolved. That's my last word.
Brendan.
Looking forward to the Avion as well as what's going on in Scotland this week. There's a lot of great storylines on the LPGA Tour this year, but you just got to think that Nelly's chomping at the bit to grab another one. I know you guys know I'm a big fan of social or YouTube golf. You got to check out this YGT. And one of Andy's things with the influencer golfers is level of play. They got some sticks, man. I mean, when you not just like Dalkey and Wesley and there's some really good players, and the matches in the first YGT event were really, really strong. And then my last final thought is, if you haven't watched any of the Adaptive Open, I'm so glad that the USGA has stepped up and done this. This is the 5th year of the US Adaptive Open. There's just so many great storylines. Bobby knows a kid, Tommy Morrissey, one-arm golfer. He's playing. He's the youngest in the field. I spent some time with Tommy when he's younger with his family. Tremendous kid. I think he's 17 now. And then the oldest guy in the field is Dennis Walters, who's just another phenomenal human being. So it's just such a cool event, and you gotta check out highlights on that.
Scott, final thoughts. What are you bailing on us now?
Uh-oh. You get too hot on hot seat.
It's not just the picture. So, okay, my final thoughts are, it was great to have Scott on.
Yeah.
Again, he's a dear friend of mine, and not many people I respect more in this game. He knows so much. He's been around so much and experienced so much. So it's been great to have Scott on. My other final thought was watching, for those of you that know Brian Manzella is he's an instructor, works really closely with Michael Jacobs, who's part of that whole team that worked with Paddy Harrington to get his game back in shape and get his ball speed up. So they have a new show, and I got to tell you, it's amazing how much golf instructors don't really realize that it's such a small group of people that they're talking to and that they're arguing with. The number of people that can understand the things that they're discussing is just so small. And I like to think that here at Quiet Please, we have some experience here, we have some expertise here, but we also like to think that we talk about things in a way that the general golfing public can kind of understand and appreciate. So I appreciate being with you guys on a weekly basis, and definitely miss having Alan and Christian on. But till next week, we'll check out and see you later.